When you think about taking stock of what makes you feel good or better and what makes you feel worse, it's amazing how many times people have no clue why they don't feel so good.
They're speakers, authors, and real-life rock stars, bringing you life-changing thoughts that rock, taking conversation all the way to 11.
Most shows only go to 10.
Well, it's one louder, isn't it? These go to 11.
This is Thoughts That Rock. Now, here are your hosts, Jim Knight and Brant Menswar.
What's happening, friends?
What's up, Thought Rockers?
Thought Rockers, that sounds so dirty. What's up, Thought Rockers? It's your favorite podcast, Thoughts That Rock, where we tackle issues that we are made aware of that you're struggling with, and we find incredible guests to give you great advice. I have to say that this episode is one of our all-time favorites.
No doubt.
In the 4 years that we've been doing this.
Yeah. And honestly, I think when Rachel sent this to us and said, this is going to be my topic, it's how to feel better. I think I was like, oh, that's cute. There better be some substance in there. And she had this tagline, how to feel better as you live, lead, and succeed. And even then I was a little bit dubious, but a lot of faith in Rachel because we love her. It's Rachel Sheerin, our good friend who we've known for a couple of years now. Phenomenal. She's a keynote speaker, an MC. She MCs conferences.
Yes.
She's an employee engagement
She's
consultant.
a rapper.
I'm sorry. What was the one thing?
Said she's an MC.
Yeah, I get it.
I would love to see that. I'd pay for that.
For her to rap?
I would.
That would be everything at a conference. That's all she does. She speaks and rap. What was the thing in her bio that really stood out that you were like, what? She's a what?
She's a certified professional behavior analyst.
Yeah.
A CPBA, which is a freaking big deal. It's like, you got to be really smart to be one of those.
Yeah. And she is. And she has actually helped, knowing her background, build multi-million dollars sales teams. I mean, for Ritz-Carlton and Walmart and Hilton and Berkshire Hathaway. So she's got that sales background, stepped into being this speaker, soon to be an author, which sort of revolves around the topic. I mean, the name of the book is Better, How to Feel Good as You Live, Lead, and Succeed. She's got her own consulting business called The Magnet Method. Just I don't know that I've laughed as hard as I've laughed and was amazed and inspired at the same time in an episode in a very long time.
I wrote more crap down from this interview that is amazing that I will have to burn into my memory because the information was so good. Listen, anybody that has letters after their name, like I have BAMF at the end of my name, and that just stands for badass mother. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
God.
BAMF. But it is not certified, so it doesn't really count. But she is a certified professional behavior analyst and could probably do us both a lot of good if we sat down on a couch with her for a few minutes.
Probably. I feel like we did.
We really did.
I feel so much better talking to her. So I feel like I just got a therapy lesson.
I'm telling you, she is a bottle of joy that just explodes and is amazing. And this was one of our all-time favorite conversations.
Yeah, if you definitely have to go look at her bio in the show notes, but I'm telling you, you will do yourself a disservice if that's all you do. Just listen to this episode. There's no way that you can't feel better. So much fun, right?
I'm a BAMF.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Rachel Sheerin is in the house.
Yes.
What up? What up? What up? My two favorite co-hosts. Hello.
I wish I could say the same thing. What?
Listen.
And go.
Stop talking.
5 seconds in.
Stop talking and let the guest actually share some wisdom
for once.
I wish this podcast was fun. That's what I really wish. As I listen every week, I wish this podcast was fun.
That should be the title. It should be How to Make Thoughts That Rock Fun.
That's right.
I've listened to you for 4 years.
I've been asking this question for hundreds of episodes.
And finally, we have someone who's going to be able to help us out. Rachel, we're so happy to see you here. We go a couple years back. I think we were just talking before we logged on pre-COVID, and physically haven't had a chance to see each other. But man, you're killing it out there on the circuit. We see that you're doing so many awesome things. I mean, obviously, we just talked about it in the intro, and again, everybody should check out her bio. But we're just so thankful that you jumped on here to help us on this interesting topic, like how to feel better, which if we just stop there, who wouldn't want to feel better? But specifically, as you live, lead, and succeed. And like we said in the intro, I know that's tied around to your book. So we're excited to hear from you. What is your first thought that rocks on how to feel better?
You got to take stock, Jim. When you think about taking stock of what makes you feel good or better and what makes you feel worse, it's amazing how many times people have no clue why they don't feel so good. You know, it's like, oh, I don't know why I'm so irritated with my kids. And then you say, well, how much sleep did you get last night? And they're like 5 hours. And you're like, that's not normal.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's an easy example, right? We know that when we don't get enough sleep, we maybe aren't the most patient person to be around. Okay. You take a couple days of that, a couple weeks of that. Shout out to new parents, right?
Mhm.
They've experienced it. But then it's amazing how we are searching for answers all the time. We, especially in a consumerism culture, we're like, well, maybe we'll buy this thing, or maybe we'll get a pedicure. And y'all, I don't know how many pedicures you've gotten, but if we ever go for pedicures together, I'm telling you right now, I want the fastest pedicure person in the world. I want somebody to do it in 20 minutes, which is why, weirdly enough, I will get my pedicures at the airport because they're always expecting you to be in a rush.
Smart.
So if you take stock, it's as simple as, if you're listening right now, you just take stock. What energizes you? What depletes you? What's your energy ebb and flow like? So, I mean, what about you guys? What is something that is a go-to energizer for you?
Definitely pedicures.
Drugs. Just kidding. I think.
Welcome to the punk rock edition of Thoughts That Rock.
Yes.
I think.
Question.
So this is, I'll give you one that is, I would probably say for both of us, falls on both sides. So it's an energizer and a depleter, and that's philanthropy. We love doing it. We love giving back to whatever it might be. But if it gets too much, it actually ends up depleting us from the stuff that we need to get done, right? If we're giving away too much, it ends up being a challenge, I think. I know there are people who say you can't give away enough, but I don't believe that's true. I think that the act of giving, the seeing somebody get something from what you're doing, that reward of seeing somebody really benefit from the altruistic gesture. But at the same time, if all you're doing is that, next thing you know, you can't pay rent. And it's like, oh, well, what happened with all my time while I was volunteering? I was giving, I was doing this. And, we always believe a lot of that stuff comes back to you. But at the same time, I think that's maybe one of the only ones I can think of that would fall on both sides, depending upon if you're not careful of managing your time.
Well,
that's vital.
Mine might sort of fall on both sides. I think I don't really like networking per se, but I love spending time with people that are in the same world that we're in. So I know that you just went on a mastermind. Yep. The three of us, all three of us are speakers, soon to be author. Again, congratulations coming up. I think when I can hang out with people who have different, innovative, creative ideas. And in fact, we went to lunch and we were talking about some things that I could be doing or that you are doing. And I go, man, that is pretty cool. I don't want to do the exact same thing, but as a catalyst, you've got my synapses firing. So I think hanging out with other people that have like-minded or at least like businesses.
How do you spell
does inspire me? Synapses. I'll work
pulling
on
out
that.
the freaking 50-cent words, Rachel.
It's the only thing I can do. I got to look smart by using some big words. I don't mean to be insipid or altruistic.
Oh my gosh, stop it.
For those speakers out there, just go ahead and get a thesaurus and Jim Knight as your
know
friend.
What? Let's
we
keep
got
it
this.
Fourth grade. That's the deal.
Yeah.
I signed on if we kept this at a fourth grade level.
I like people who speak.
That's right. Thank you.
I love it.
Is good.
Well, and if I could be so bold, like I'm looking at you guys right now, and I think this podcast is an energizer for you, right? Because like if one of you's on one level, maybe another one's feeling really high vibration, another low vibration, like, typically that rising tide's going to lift you both. But then there are things in all of our lives, right? That are, energizers. Like to me, I'm like, talking with other people, absolutely an energizer. Lucky me, speaking on stage, energizer.
Oh.
It's a depleter. Writing. Boy, it was hard to write this book. I talk typed this book mostly out and had a fantastic editor try and control my squirrel brain. Emails, you know what? I could pen pal with people all the time, attendees, my meeting planner friends, association colleagues, whatever it is. I can be like, hey, how's the kids? Show me pictures of your new puppy, like congratulations on your engagement. But if someone is literally like, Rachel, send your bio and headshot, I'm like, oh, I'm melting. Even though it is, of course, on my website, on an event planner's page, like there's something about administrative work that I'm like, I want to blame some ADHD or something, but no, it's just me. But here's the thing, y'all. So, I didn't get into business, and I'm not trying to go through life with stuff that weighs me down. But I can't banish it. I can't delegate it. I can't, grin and bear it unless I name it. And so this idea of, building, feeling better when people, for a long time, I talked about happiness and burnout and this connection that happiness really has between success. The happier you are, the more successful you are. Happier the NBA player is, the more points they score. The happier the insurance salesperson is, the more policies they sell. I mean, we could go on and on and on about this correlation. But the thing is that when you ask people, hey, how you feeling? They're like, ugh, and it's a groan because we're fatigued, we're overwhelmed, we're burned out, we're tired. There's a bunch of other stuff going on in the world and we haven't recovered from most of it. We're grieving, actively grieving all the time, invisibly and, outwardly. And when you think about like what you really want, most people just want to feel better. And step one's got to be taking stock of what's making you feel good. And honestly, what makes you feel bad, and saying, can I delete it? Can I delegate it? Or can I just do the damn thing? And yes, it is true. Sometimes I do the damn thing and I'm like, okay, how fast can I do this in? But I'm a fast paced person. I want to race through it all. And maybe that, maybe that's helpful for somebody out there listening. It's like, can you gamify it? Because you've got to own your role, y'all. In that, you had a great episode with Jeffrey Shaw recently. And in it, you all made this really interesting comment I agree with. And I disagree with at the same time. You said that, I think everybody wants to be their own business owner. And I'm like, hell yeah, we do. Like, we're unemployable. We've got to own our own businesses, right? Because we're so entrepreneurial and creative and we're running our own ships here. But I think not everybody does, but that's an inside job, right? We've got to own our role, that no one's going to be the leader better than us. No one's going to be the CEO of our life, the CFO of our life, the CHRO, right? Sometimes you need to fire people from your life, because if I'm telling you right now, and Mom, I'm so sorry. I always use this example. If you're listening, I know you never do. It's okay, Mom.
I can see it coming.
Listen, but can I tell you, a depleter was talking to my mother at night, because my mother's retired, because my mother lives on a small island where there's lots of drama. And I caught myself listening to her for an hour and a half at the end of a long day, where I was excited to connect with her and she was excited to vent. And so you know what I do when I get in the car? I call my mother. If you're lucky enough to have a mother to call, and it's good for you, call them twice a week from the car, where you say, Ma, I got 15 minutes before I'm at the doctor's office. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Smart. And so, my mom is a depleter in that way, and that's not her fault. It's my job to run my life like that.
So I think before we go to the second thought, I will say this is speaking my language, because again, we were just talking about this. I used to teach time management, and as I get older, I find myself just getting buried in the thick of thin things. I tell people this is what you should be doing, and prioritizing the things you should be working on. And in fact, I need this advice from you. I need these people around me to say, let's just focus on the things that are going to get the biggest impact, like you said, as an energizer. And these things that are going to detract and take away from your ultimate mission, they're just wasting time. They're always going to be there. And it's just so funny. I got caught up in my own trap that I talk about with other people. So I love this. And I'm sure there are people right now listening going, I got so much on my plate. But if you could just do that taking stock and go, one or two activities will give you enough juice to get you through whatever your season is right now, right? I think that's what you're saying. Awesome.
Well, to your point too, it's exactly what I'm saying. It's funny. It reminds me of two things. Number one, that quote that teachers and speakers, we teach what we need to learn. It's so funny, right? Like I'm a burnout and happiness speaker. Like burnout is so real for me so many times over.
Yeah.
So hearing you be like, oh, I've got to take my own medicine on it. It's like, yes, isn't that exciting? There's still more to learn, more to do,
Totally.
especially in different seasons of your life, right?
Yeah.
But Brent, to your point about saying, hey, like there's that philanthropic side to y'all, and it's very important. It is an energizer, but then it like goes into the shadow area where it becomes a depleter.
Yeah.
There's a phrase I love to deliver in my keynotes. It says that givers need boundaries because takers rarely have any.
Ooh, preach, girl.
I like it. Yeah.
And that's where, as like a signature thought of mine, those depleters, anyone out there listening, it's the reason I use my mom as an example. It's really hard to love things and then have them switch into the depleter mode.
Yeah.
And, anyone out there needing permission, well, that's why you're listening to Thoughts That Rock. So
Yes.
hopefully that helps you feel good.
It does.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to have it tattooed on my friggin' body.
All right. Matching tattoos.
Yes.
I've been waiting for somebody, Brant. Let's frickin' go.
Where are you going to put yours?
So listen, let's use a real life example with this man right here. So I've been telling him, his agent's been begging him for a new freaking speaker reel for a long time. And I've been telling him that him being on stage is the energizer. He loves it. He lives for it, period. But writing this book, this third book of the 3-book series, is a depleter. He's got to do it. He knows because it will end up hopefully producing him being on stage. But that's like, to me, setting up a whole row of dominoes and starting 3/4 of the way down and trying to go, I'm going to knock that domino down. But what about all these that we could be knocking down now if you got your goddamn speaker reel done like she's been asking for and I've been telling you for months?
Mm-hmm.
While these are all falling down, you could be writing so that by the time you get to that other one, you've got what you need.
Rachel, what's your second thought?
Thank you so much,
Can we move
Rachel,
on,
for
please?
smacking him across the face like he needed to hear today.
I'll give a bonus.
true.
I'll give a bonus factoid. We all know Allison Levine, incredible
Yes.
Mount Everest climber and keynote speaker. Somebody
Yes.
recently told me that Allison Levine has built her entire career with no speaker reel. So Jim, you do whatever you want.
Thank you.
Well,
You're welcome,
Allison
Brant.
Levine
I
has
do agree.
also climbed the 7 highest peaks in the world
Twice.
So,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
screw you
With a
for
blood disorder.
snowshoeing across Antarctica.
But you know what? Jim's hair could be an honorary 8th peak.
It's true.
Okay.
This is true. It's an energizer.
Oh man,
That's right.
we're
Rachel
having too much
defended
fun,
me.
but well, here's the thing, Jim. I have to defend you because you are part of my journey into the speaker world. You probably don't remember this, but I do because it's a moment that changed my life. We were in Baltimore. I was not a speaker. I was instead a director of sales at a catering company. I'm from the events and meeting planning world. And it was the NACE conference, I think 2013 or 2014.
Okay. Yeah.
And you did Thoughts That Rock. And I remember you showing, there's a couple things that remind me. Number one, I thought for a second it was Guy Fieri on stage. And I was really excited. And then I was like, Gym night? Okay, I'll take it. Which, by the way, if Guy is listening, please hire all of us, or at least me.
Yes.
But secondly, you got on stage and I remember you showed a video of a popular chicken chain restaurant, which I won't mention. And I remember being like, I was sobbing in the audience. Everyone with me was sobbing in the audience.
Yeah.
And then in like a minute later, you were having us laugh our heads off. And I remember looking to my friend, Erin, who will definitely listen to this podcast. Hey, Erin. I looked at her. She was a mentor of mine at the time. And I said, I don't know what just happened, but God, I wish I had that job. And you were the first keynote speaker I ever saw that like was, it was so good. It was so good. I was like, became like a Gym Night super fan on that.
We
Yeah.
can end right here.
Jesus.
Mark that drop.
Oh my
I'm saving
gosh.
that video
Oh
for
my
something.
And
gosh.
The hair grew
Yeah.
3 times that day.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, I loved it.
I've seen
Of course.
video of you and, when you had your podcast also during the pandemic, honestly, I mean, I know we talked a lot about this in the intro. you own it. I mean, you were made for this as well. And it just, whatever jobs you've had, whether it's director of sales or whatever else, probably helped you get to where you are. But now this is it. Like, you definitely do not need to work for anybody ever again. And I'm in awe of you, especially, we talked about this, you're an MC for events now.
Yep.
And that's something I don't like doing. I don't know if that's something in your wheelhouse, but I just think you're fantastic. But anyway, the love affair.
One of our good buddies is Brett Culp.
Continues.
And as Brett likes to say, you bring light. And that's literally what you do. You bring light to every scenario you're in, whether it's podcast, stage, books, it doesn't matter. When you bring light like you do, you shine it on everybody. And I think that's something, that's why you're experiencing the success that you have, and why you're going to experience all that more because of that light. So we thank you for sharing that with us.
And there are other people that the room lights up after they leave.
Okay, you two.
Big shadow,
okay. I love it. Well, it kind of leads into, if y'all are cool with it, my second tip.
There we go.
Finally.
Look at her pushing us along. She's like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Producing our show. You see that? This is so good.
Well, listen, it takes dream work, teamwork. And I think, for a second tip for the feeling better, especially as this is probably more on the lead and succeed side of things, but I found a ton of benefit in understanding the if-then correlations of action. And what do I mean by if-then? Did y'all ever take deductive logic in school?
Oh,
have you ever heard of that?
That's my favorite math class.
You know what? Same, Brant, because it had no letters, it had no numbers.
That's right.
Right? You're talk to me about if then. And so this idea of if then actually as a formulation, and it's something I talk a lot about in my book, if you put it as a format or strategy for your life, you understand not just how to celebrate, but how to increase your gratitude, and also too, how to check you on your own stuff. Because again, just like nobody can be the leader of your life, well, a lot of times we also have to be, the decider of our life. We have to be the celebrator, the applauding audience of our life. And so when you think about if then goals, it's if I get this, if I get to this revenue, then I'm going to do what? Because y'all, how many times do we succeed? And it takes, 3 months, 4 years, half a dozen decades, whatever it is. We get there and we're like, this rocks. All right, next. We make one post about it. Next. How about what would life look like if you thought of if then, or if this, then that? What would you take out of your life? If you're going to be a manifester, when I get to this, then I'm going to that. Because, Ed Viesturs, a great mountain climber, one of my favorite keynote speakers, he's got this awesome quote. He says, getting to the top is optional, but getting back down is mandatory. Because it's not a successful climb to the top if you just get there, right? It's the trip down. And ever since I read his book maybe 5-6 years ago and got to see him speak, introduce him on stage, all that stuff, I've been thinking about, why do we discount the way down? And if then thinking is super helpful for me. So, sharing the wealth, celebrating the wealth. Let me ask you guys, you've had incredible successes, book launches, record-breaking years. You've also had incredible losses and periods of deep, deep sadness. When you think about the if-then, how do you all currently celebrate? What's your favorite mode and methodology? Do you have a framework for that?
We usually go get a bucket of meat.
We do.
We get our feet massaged at the same time in the same room.
No,
and
not
then we
with the bucket of meat.
And then not with the bucket of meat
gross.
there. And then we go see a movie.
We do. He's not even lying. We go to what is it? Smoky Bones, and we order a bucket of meat. It's literally a bucket with a bunch of meat on top that's still cooking. And then we go get foot massages at Happy Feet. And then
we don't make eye contact.
We don't look at each other.
No.
Although we've got some amazing stories from those episodes that will have to be behind the scenes. But what I will say is this, Rachel, and I think going back to, so Allie Levine is such a good friend. And actually she literally you reminded me, I have to text her back. She texted me yesterday. And so I love her. And one of the things when she gives her talks that she talks about is when you climb Mount Everest, you don't just go straight to the top. You actually have to build in time to retreat. So you only go to the first camp, and then you've got to go back to where you started. And then you've got to go to the first camp in a little bit, then you got to go back to where you started. And the retreat is built in order for you to get to the top. And so I think what that has helped me realize is that it's not just a forward motion always, and you're just going to keep going forward until you reach the top. You have to build in these times to go back, sort of gather where you were at. What did you just learn? Take account of what is about to happen again. Take stock again, going to the number one, and then continue on to that next deal. But it's not get to the next deal and then just go to the next one. It's always get to where you're going to go next. Then we're going to go back. We're going to let our bodies adjust. We're going to continue to talk about what needs to happen. So I love that when we sort of build, if we think about going backwards as a way to go forwards, then it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, and how about if we take it like in the categories? So I like the 3 C's and thinking about if then, celebrate, congratulate, and console. And I have plans in my life, this idea of like, if something happens, y'all, it's not if my dad died, it's when my dad died, then this happens. Right. And, you know, some people call it, if you're going to therapy, your therapist might say you're preparing for suffering. But what I like to think about it, you know, especially when it's outwards and it's how I'm loving on people and loving on the world. Some of my biggest regrets in life have been the way I've showed up. Or not shown up for people. You know, my husband, I'm biased. I hit the jackpot. I think I just have not only the best looking guy, the smartest guy, the funniest guy. He's an all arounder. And one of the things my husband did is graduate college a little later than the traditional path. And I planned a party, flew in his entire family to this party, had it catered, all that kind of stuff. Do you know who wasn't at the party? Me. Because I had a holiday party I needed to cater. And I, mind you, needed to cater. Listen to my Freudian slips there. I didn't cook the food. It wasn't necessarily my biggest client. Like I had to be there for other people. And I think back now, and I'm so glad that wasn't the last celebration I got to have with him, right? We've been married about 7 or 8 years in there somewhere. And, you know, we've been together about 15 and there's been more. But to think about the way I would have never... I would never do that again. So when you're celebrating somebody, you know, celebrating yourself, have it on the list. When you're consoling somebody, you know, anyone who's in the club of grief, you know, it's one thing to send the casserole and to be there at day one. But, you know, if someone leaves this earth, we've got to keep that checking in, that posting about them, that asking, you know, the holidays can be so heavy and hard. But like, if you have priorities in your life and you then them, especially around celebrating, congratulating, and consoling, then I'm telling you right now, y'all, bank accounts can differ. It's like money and weight here, we say in the South, money and weight, they come, they go, right? You can always find more. Okay. But you'll be so proud of the person that you are and the person you've shown up as. And that, I think, is maybe an unspoken part of feeling better, is that it is very hard, though not impossible, to feel bad when you're helping somebody else.
If you were to continuously use this language, you've got that in the forefront of your head, living if then, that correlation, like you said, produces so much great stuff. Do you think maybe for people who are not used to doing that, would you write these things down? Like, I know you were using the analogy, if I reach this goal, this is going to happen. You know, I just want to double check. Would you recommend that they would literally start off having these goals in a if then statement? Is that something that would be helpful? Or just by thinking,
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what your learning style is and analytical style is. I'll tell you, some of my best if-then moments come floating in my pool with my best friend beside me as we do dash and splash in the summer because we want to be fit, we want to be tan, and we want an excuse to hang out. So we do our 5K, we end up in the pool, and then we float there for like 30 minutes wondering, do we really have to go back to work? Well, no, I guess we don't have to. But this idea, if you've got dreamer friends, if you yourself are a dreamer and a creative, well, then you can if then all you want. Well, if this happens, I mean, we, by the way, and Jim, I'll see if you agree with me here. I think we actually do this a lot as society, because how many times have you been like, if you win the lottery, what would you do?
That's true.
If you never had to work again, right? Like, but what we don't do is we don't revisit it. right? We don't like add on to it, right? Like if y'all won the lottery, what would you do is a fair question, right? But then it's like, well, and then what? And then if then you got really famous and people were resentful, then like what would happen? But then like if you got really famous and then you had like a whole childhood cancer wing named after you, then what, right? Like how would you use that newfound platform, right? Like and I'll tell you, it's so much fun whether you write it down, whether you make it visual. Like it's incredible how just dreaming is so expansive.
Yeah.
And as kids, we love to dream until somewhere along the way, people are like, well, welcome to reality. That's not practical, you know?
Yeah.
As adults,
Yeah.
I think the more we can get back to that, the better it's going to be for everybody.
I love it. So my favorite quote
is Dash and Splash.
Is when we first started this podcast, it was, tell us the best piece of advice you've ever heard. And so for me, that comes from a quote from Maya Angelou, and it's, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. And I think that that's at the heart of what you're saying right there, which is if you're going to do this, when you get to that point, the then to me is do better, right? That's what it is. It's not the outcome. It's part of the continuous learning process and journey of Jim and I both are lifetime learners. And it's one of the things we enjoy probably the most is continuing to figure out what can we do better. And that is something that I love thinking of life in an if I learn something new, then I need to do better. And that's I think a good goal for us to have.
Is it weird if one of my favorite quotes is my own?
Yes. Scott Stratton would tell you that is not okay.
Oh. What is your third thought that rocks, Rachel? Bring us home.
Great news. Free refills. That would be my third thought. Free refills. And whether you have a Hard Rock Hurricane glass to refill, totally your call.
Yes.
But what I mean by this is this free refill of, I think sometimes, especially in our line of work, people look at us and it's like, gosh, you're so happy. You're so energetic. You're so vibrant. You're so, I don't know. No one's called me wise, but like, maybe, I don't know, maybe smart ass, I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. But this idea that like, this is this never ending fountain, like, am I a glass half full person? No, I'm a glasses overflowing person. Like, I just think there's so much goodness and abundance, all that stuff. But even I need to refill myself. And so what that looks like is understanding your sources of refilling. And the way that I think we stumble into it, we try and go to those places, our Energizer list, for example. But sometimes we're not getting the juice like we used to. It's like, have you ever had a restaurant or maybe a favorite food product? And you're like, I distinctly remember Wheat Thins. If you were listening, Wheat Thins, I got a bone to pick. When I was about 14, they came out. It was the first time I had ever remembered when I saw the box, it said new, better, improved flavor or something like that. Yeah. And that is code for cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah. It is cheaper, right? But I remember eating it and y'all, it sounds so corny, but I remember what Wheat Thins used to taste like as a kid, and I loved Wheat Thins. And now I'm like, Wheat Thins are an acceptable accessory to my, cheese board.
Yeah.
Long story short is that like I couldn't go back to Wheat Thins and feel the same way. And this is a corny way to say, well, what are the sources you're pulling from? I think it's got to be inspirational sources. You've got to know your physical energy sources, your mental energy sources, and your execution sources. And what I mean by that is inspirational means where can you go? The light is always on, right? Where you can go. I find it from fellow keynote speakers, right? Like your mastermind you're talking about. My mastermind is so, I can bring a business problem. I can bring a personal problem. I can bring like a piece of shade that I'm just like, is all my ego. And I'm like, please check me. Boom. How about, co-working with people, accountability, like that is helpful for me. How about freaking YouTube and podcasts, right? Yeah. Like I dare myself to feel worse after listening to Les Brown or E.T. the hip hop preacher or, Tucker Bryan or Ashley Hayes, right? Those are spoken word poets. When I listen to y'all, here's the thing. It's a 30 to 40 minute podcast of thoughts that rock with two friends who just happen to be incredible keynote speakers and presenters that bring on awesome guests. Like try to not feel inspired, right? So that's an inspirational source. Physical sources. Y'all, I could skip my Peloton workouts, which yes, I am one of those. So of course I have to mention it on a podcast.
Yes.
So thank you. Bingo square right there, Peloton. But like y'all, sometimes I will make a green juice, which I love my juicer, and I'll sip my juice. I may not have worked out in weeks, and I'll be like, am I the epitome of health? Maybe. Like, look at me. So, y'all, if I'm not feeling physically energized, I know that juicing, I know that walking the dog, I know that actually talking to people, and getting my body up and moving around, the mental energy sources, meditating, reading, music, I'm really big I married a metal musician. So I'm into metal and punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm really into Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and then sometimes, more often than I'd like to admit, I am blasting Enya. All right.
Okay.
It used to be that I blast Enya in the shower when I would have rough days. And now I'm like, no, Enya, side note, if Enya's listening to this, first of all, great choice of a podcast. Second of all, do you know that Enya, like she's worth like $25 million, $30 million. She has never toured ever. She is truly an enigma, which is another great band. And then finally, your executional goals. And this one was for me. I think we can see how maybe all of those make sense. You have your inspirational goals, your physical energy goals, your mental energy goals, but your execution sources that you can pull from. Yep. These are the people that just make you do it. And that is my team where I can delegate. How about it's my family? Like sometimes I'll call my baby brother, which, he's all of about 24 now. And I'll be like, Paul, and he'll be like, yo, are we still on for dinner? And I'm like, yes, but you have to call me before you get in the car, because if I don't have this done, like I can't hang out with you. And I will always pick my family over my business. Like that is a big values, right? Brant, I know I'm speaking to your language, right? 100%. When it comes to values, you can see it on my calendar. You can see it in my bank account now, right? I'm not living that disjointed life anymore. Yeah. But I also know that if I tell my baby brother that I will literally reject him for dinner if I don't do this thing, apparently I do have to do that QuickBooks accounting or whatever it might be. And finally, like remembering that like Fiverr is out there, other speakers are out there. I love referring other speakers because not every client's my ideal client. My ideal client meets me and then we do an event together and they're like, I wish we could go to Cabo. And I'm like, why not? Like, let's go to Cabo. Right. Yeah. But like, that's not always somebody else's ideal audience. Right. And I love that we live in a world where you can just be like, you know what? This isn't for me. This is for someone else. Yeah. But when you understand that you can get free refills and that's independent on anyone else, like, YouTube's always there. Meditation's always there. Green juice, I think, is always there. But what about you guys? Like when it comes to free refills, where do you find your sources of energy?
Where to start? I mean, you listed off a bunch of those. I mean, there are a couple for sure. Podcasts. I'm a reader, a voracious reader of boring business books. I'm with you. I told Brant, I probably now have 1,000 books in my library at home and not a single one are fiction. It's money, it's business,
and you've read them. That's amazing.
I've read them. And part of the goal was exactly, Brant, what you were saying. I just want to make sure that I have enough arrows in the quiver where I could have a conversation with somebody. So I just think if something's not broken, break it. I am all about trying to figure out how can I make it better today than it was yesterday. So that's where my mind goes. So I read a lot, but for sure listen to podcasts, but watching other speakers as well. That's probably for me, my focus.
I go to TikTok.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Definitely a dopamine.
I have followed enough of what I like that I get little bits of inspiration in my bite-sized chunks that my brain will handle.
Your algorithm?
Even a TED talk for me, I'm like, all right, this is 11 minutes too long. I need the TikTok version of this talk if I'm going to stay focused. But I think that this idea, it's funny. It's one of my rules at a restaurant. If there's no free refills, I won't eat there, which is the truth. We toured for 20 years as the band, and when we toured with the band, if they didn't have free refills, I would not eat.
Would that be like
and I got to say, this is nothing against, but most of the time we had trouble eating at Chinese restaurants, they want to bring you a can of whatever it is that you want. And then they're going to charge you like $3 or $4 for every can of soda. And I'm like, that's 7 cents on a pour. I know it is because I asked somebody that owned a restaurant once. I want my free refills. I want my 3 glasses of Diet Coke or whatever it was I was drinking at that time. And I just, if they didn't have it, I wouldn't do it. But it's interesting to sort of flip that, because it is, as much as I joke about TikTok. I mean, I turned my mother on to TikTok, who just watches stupid cat videos, and my dad watches people being scared because the plant comes to life, or whoever's in the snowman suit is scaring the shit out of somebody. Like that, they love watching those videos, and it brings them joy. And I love that, I saw a video clip of Gary Vee the other day, just flipping through. And one of the things he said is, if you don't like what social media is giving you, it's because you're watching the wrong things. Go search for the things that energize you, that are bringing you life. And that's what you're going to see in the algorithm. And then all of a sudden it becomes a positive thing and not a negative thing.
Yeah. Well, to the Gary Vee point, I think it's brilliant. It's absolutely true. But there's a challenge because people don't know what they want. Anyone who's ever been in leadership, you ask your employees, you're like, what do you want? You ask your children, what do you want? You ask your spouse, what do you want? I made like a decades long thing of having my husband guess what it is that I want, only to be like, no, I don't want that. Try again. And he's so patient. And anyone out there that's married or in long-term friendships, or, we do that. And I think that's where it's a really curious exercise where, if you put all of these three things together, you take stock of your, adders and subtractors, right? The ebb and flow of energy, the fuels and depleters. Then you go into the thens, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to build out these sources, these wells, these vistas that I can visit any time of day or night. They become like your, almost like your Knights of the Round Table a little bit. They can be your best advisors. But if you do, to your point, Brant, if you find yourself like yearning for something you don't have, go out and seek it. Find other people that are trying to figure out. All we need is people, one step ahead of us to help us out, right? There's a great Michelle Obama quote when she was here in Charlotte. And she said that when the door of opportunity opens and you walk through, be sure you're pulling someone through with you. And for all the misinformation that might be on TikTok, I think TikTok actually does a great job of trying to help a lot of people, pull people through whatever door it is. But Brant, I'm going to need your help, because for some reason, all I'm seeing is people who are prison pen pals with hot felons and sheep shearing TikTok. I don't know why, but it's like the sheep. I think it's because my last name, Ed Sheeran. So that it's Irish and it's sheep. But like, come on, guys. Come on, TikTok. I need to spend a little more time on it.
I wanted to talk to you about how you can use ChatGPT to make $1,000 in the next 7 days, Rachel. And that's sort of my TikTok of what.
Remember when it was just car warranties?
I swear, everything right now on TikTok is, we moved from drop shipping on Amazon to using Alibaba to make $10,000 a week. And now it's use ChatGPT to make $1,000 in the next 7 days.
You know what you'll never see is using ChatGPT to be a keynote speaker, because we do what other people fear. So at least we've got that going on.
Write that down. Boom.
We're going to use her. She said, that's one of the things she said that she uses our tagline, thoughts that rock, try not to be inspired. Like we should just, if we could add at the end of that, I think it would be the last little part, but it was like, try not to be inspired.
Punk.
That's definitely going on the t-shirt.
That's it.
And this episode would have been so much better if Rachel was in.
I know. If she wasn't so much darkness whenever she shows up, she just brings everybody down. It's
a lot of doom and gloom.
That's it.
This is some of the most fun we've had in a long, long time. We have some great guests on there, but you are just you.
That's right.
You made me feel better.
You are the world.
I won't try and sing, but you're my inspiration. I love it. I love. Can I really? Can I really fangirl for a moment? I think one thing that's really special about this particular podcast is, first of all, you get what you put out. I think a lot of times, right? So like, thanks for making it such a safe space to be able to share and show up authentically and have a good time and not take ourselves so seriously while doing very serious and impactful work.
Yeah.
But one endorsement I can always say is that, like, seeing you guys on screen right now and seeing you in person and just knowing you and seeing you, your authenticity before it was a freaking buzzword is so incredibly real. So thanks for letting me be my weird, wonderful self with you weird, wonderful selves. This is a blast.
I love it.
Rachel, we really just want to be pretty. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we'd be happy with if people just said, you know what, you guys are pretty.
Listen, I'm not just a pretty
It's all
thing.
the hair gel.
It's
Yeah.
more.
Listen,
there's more.
If Paul Mitchell would just get their shit together and start sponsoring us over here, we'd be in good shape.
It's not just about
Guys, rebrand. Wait for it. Hair that rocks.
Oh, there we go. Then we just talk about hair products.
That's
in
it.
our podcast.
For at least 2 or 3 episodes.
You know what I'm into now? This is totally true. Little side desk. It is the powder. Have you ever tried the powder?
Powder what?
So you, instead of hairspray or gel or paste or, any of the pomade. How do you say pomade? Yes, whatever that is. I was going to say pompata. It's like shaking like powder, like literally.
That's to fill in bald spots.
No, it is not. It's not that. It is the powder.
It's de-lysine powder.
It's like a texturizer.
Is it white?
You use it on dry hair.
They call it lye.
It's amazing. It holds your hair in place.
Is it like dry shampoo? Like
Look at
stiff
this.
dry shampoo?
Look at this. This is the little bit of powder. So it's like salt. It's like a salt shaker. Or they have them in a pump now, and it comes out like in a little poof of.
I think it's lye.
It's like
they put it
talcum
on
powder.
dead bodies.
I'm telling you, it is a new
New York
product.
Times.
Anybody
New York
out
Times
there will
headline.
tell you.
Brant
I
Mansoir,
got
huge
product.
fan
I
of
like
white
it.
powder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is some guy on the side of the road. Did you get it at a
It
circus?
literally, they sell it at the
Circus.
salons. Yes, it's a little powder.
Okay.
You do this and you talc it, whatever, and then it just holds your hair in place and gives it volume without hairspray or anything else. It's so much healthier for your hair. Never mind.
And
So
that was
Rachel,
the trend tip from Brand.
You're so Aquanet, you guys. You got to get with this.
So just to wrap up, the topic of how to feel better as you live,
How to look
lead,
better is how
and
we're ending
succeed.
this.
Here are the three. We got take stock,
Take stock.
right? We got if then, correlations we loved,
yes,
and then free refills.
Free refills.
And we will have all of this and a little bit of some information behind each one of those in the show notes. And Rachel, seriously, this was awesome. This was fun, and it isn't just because you made me have a big head here. I'm saying this for both of us. You're a rock star.
Yes.
And it's just fun to watch your trajectory and what you're doing. And this is fun. I know we're going to see you in person. You're going to be in our neck of the woods here in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Where can people get a little bit more information about you or about the things that you're doing?
Totally. If you want to follow me professionally, tips, articles, motivational stuff, that's going to be typically on my LinkedIn. Or if you want to be part of my pre-launch team for my book called Better, How to Feel Good as You Live, Lead, and Succeed, you can go to rachelsheerin.com. There's going to be a banner up at the top that says join the launch list. If you're more interested in my very cute pit bull or my very good looking husband, that's where you hang out with me on Instagram.
I was like, where do you follow you unprofessionally? Like, is that something people are freaking peeping through your damn dining room window?
Totally. You know what? I do have to watch. I have to watch it. There are people that are fans. So we call my husband King Sheerin because he calls me Queen Sheerin. And there are some rabid King Sheerin fans out there. So I got to keep him happy. So that's a lot of the content on Instagram.
That is too
Jim,
funny.
if you want to follow me unprofessionally.
I know, just show up with some dry powder.
What we want.
Dry powder, and I'm in, apparently. I don't know how that works.
Hashtag styled by Brant.
Oh,
Yes.
Dry powder is my new rap name. What's up, man?
Rachel.
Dry powder in the house.
It is so awesome
whack.
to see you. I'm gonna have to
That
close
got
this
you right.
out professionally. I think
I hope this is usable.
Usable. We're not editing
Are you
a
kidding
single
me?
thing.
Oh my gosh.
This was going down in the vault forever. Seriously,
Oh.
you're the best. We love you. Thanks for just spending a little bit of time with us. This was amazing.
Take
Thank
care.
you, y'all.
We
We'll
love
see you soon.
You bet.
Dry powder forever.
Hey, rock stars, thanks so much for tuning in.
Yeah, and listen, we know how busy you are, and grabbing those little nuggets of wisdom that can amp up your life are super hard to come by. So we hope this episode helped you enough for you to maybe subscribe and consider leaving us a rating and a review so that we can continue to grow the show.
Thus That Rock is a proud member of the Evergreen Podcast Network and also supports Cannonball Kids Cancer and their fight for finding and funding treatment options for kids who have run out of options. They're amazing. Their work is incredible. To learn more, please go to cannonballkidscancer.org.
Finally, if you're interested in having Grant or Jim or both of us speak at your event, whether as a virtual webinar or an in-person conference keynote or mastermind, contact us directly at thoughtsatrock.com.
Until next time,
Rock on!